loans in the middle of the decade, there was systematic fraud in the appraisals, systematic overstatement of what the houses were worth, because the bigger the loan that you gave, the bigger fee you could book. And so these are markets that should never, historically didn't exist, and should not have been allowed to develop. They're intrinsically unsafe. And so from that point of view, Paul, of course, is exactly right, that trying to restore these markets, trying to go back to the normal of 2 years ago, is really trying to go back to a situation that is historically abnormal and intrinsically unstable. And in some ways, you can say what the Treasury plan actually is a way of creating a new derivative, a new bond, if you like, which the Treasury has half the capital and provides 85% of the value of the purchase in the form of a low-interest, non-recourse loan, that's designed to make the purchase of these so-called assets from the banks a highly profitable proposition for hedge funds and private equity investors and others who are in a position to risk their capital without having to face fiduciary consequences. And so it's something which I suppose there may be investors out there who think that they could make money off of this, but I'll tell you who it would be particularly attractive to if they could get away with it, and that is the banks themselves or people acting on their behalf, because what it would mean is that in effect the banks can transfer someone acting on behalf of a bank could arrange for the transfer of a dollar's worth of these bad securities at face value for 7.5 cents of risk. And that means that you're really, in effect, creating a conduit which would just take these losses off of the books of the banks, put them on the books of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, and I would say that would solve the problem for the banks, but it wouldn't solve the problem for anybody else.
Professor Galbraith, we want to thank you very much for being with us. James Galbraith is an economist, professor of public affairs and government at the University of Texas, Austin. His most recent book is The Predator State: How Conservatives Abandon the Free Market and Why Liberals Should Too. This is Democracy Now! When we come back, we're going to talk about what happened in Guadeloupe. Then it is the 30th anniversary of 3 Mile Island. We'll be talking about the biggest nuclear accident in U.S. history. And what about the death of American newspapers? Bob McChesney will join us from Madison, Wisconsin. Stay with us.